Hey, what's up, Patreon? Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 to the OLP MM1 mini-series that's exclusively just for you guys here on Patreon. Last week I talked about how I acquired this guitar, played some clips of me and Sasquatch talking about it because he's the one who gave it to me, and talked about some of the plans and showed you guys the paint job for it. But I want to go back to the beginning of this build now. This guitar came in beautiful with a quilted maple veneer top on it. We added the EVH stripes on it, painted the headstock to match, and I want to go back and show you guys some of that process, and then we're going to get into the refret of this guitar. It came in with really worn out, old, corroded frets. We got them swapped out, and now I'm going to show you guys the process of how we got it from its stock form, kind of taken apart halfway from how Sasquatch brought it to us, to what you see now, and then eventually in the next couple of parts of this series, we're going to show you it completely built out. So if you love this guitar and you need it in your collection, hit me up, send me an email, mark@guitarguts.com, and it's going to be for sale to one of you guys first. I'm offering it to the Patreon audience first, and then eventually it will go out to everybody else, but I want to give you guys a shot at it first because you're my #1 supporters and I really appreciate you guys. So let's go back to the beginning of how this guitar came in and show you the process of how we got it to what it is now. This is how the guitar arrived to the shop. You can see it's missing the bridge pickup. Otherwise, the body's in pretty good condition. I mean, the veneer top on it looks really cool. It's got that classic 90s EVH look. There's a couple cracks in the veneer where the veneer was actually lifting off the body, but we'll address that in a little bit. Got the classic OLP matched headstock. The neck and the frets, you can see this is where the wear really shows itself. A lot of dirt, a lot of grime on the frets and neck, but otherwise, I mean, that stuff's repairable. The back of the guitar has a little bit of pitting on the neck plate, and the control cavity cover is gone, but that stuff's not a big deal. I can fix all that stuff. So it's a great little candidate, a great project here, and these are solid built guitars. OLP, which stands for Officially Licensed Product, is a company that used to license models, and they would build replicas that are much more affordable than the actual artist signature model. In this case, Music Man makes the EVH signature that this guitar was copying, and those go for well above $2,000. So to be able to get a guitar like this for $200 at the time, what a great deal. These guitars were made in China, but they had good quality control, and a lot of the electronics and the hardware was sourced from Korea, which makes better quality parts, but it was all assembled in China to keep the costs low. The full plan with this guitar is to strip it down, take all the parts off, and replace almost everything. We'll keep the neck and the body and the neck pickup, but almost everything else will be replaced. We'll throw a cool new paint job on it, replace the tuners with Goto tuners that are made in Japan that are real high quality, throw a Seymour Duncan JB pickup in it, which I have already on hand that I bought used from Reverb that matches the neck pickup, so it's got the zebra look to it. And of course, we're going to be refretting it because these frets are pretty shot, they're really old, and I think they use cheaper material on them, so we're going to put some higher quality fret wire on it. And that's going to make it play like a brand new guitar. Some of you may remember this guitar from the video I did where I disassembled 10 guitars as quickly as I possibly could. I estimated it would take me about 5 hours to take apart 10 guitars, so that's 30 minutes a piece, but I did them in over just 3 hours. So if you want to check out that video, I'll link it down below in the description. Now this one's a little crazy, guys. So this is something that Uncle Sasquatch had donated to me, and I had an idea that I've been wanting to try for a long time, which is to add tape stripes over a finish like this, and then spray flat black over it and remove the tape. So it's going to be a flat black like a Stealth Frankenstrat, but the stripes are going to have this quilted maple in it. Now there is one problem with this guitar. It has a couple cracks in the veneer surface, so here and here, and I've went ahead and glued them back down so they're not lifting at all. They were kind of lifting up a little bit, but they're not anymore. So there's also some dings. You can notice some imperfections in the guitar, and I didn't want to start busting out the Bondo because then if there's a tape stripe across there, it's going to look super ugly, especially like these long ones like this. I was thinking I could probably spot level some areas, but then it's going to dictate exactly where the stripes are going to be, and I like the stripes to go where they look good, not around obstacles like Bondo spots. So the way I'm thinking is this is kind of like the Bumblebee, because it's going to be black with kind of yellowy, amber, gold stripes, but also it's going to be kind of like the original Frankenstrat. Eddie played it in the black and white striped phase for a tour, I think, in 1978. So if you ever notice, there's relicking through the black and white striping version of it, and then there's fresh red paint put on top of that. So you'll notice spots where the red is, you'll see painted over dents like this and chips and stuff, but the red paint is fresh over it and they didn't do any filling or any repair. So I think that's going to look really interesting and really cool and still get the point across that I'm trying to get. This is going to be a guitar that I sell in the under $1,000 range, I would say. It came in with one pickup in the neck. I've got a JB that matches it because there's zebra colored pickups that were in here. So one is cream, one coil, and one coil is black. But I've got a zebra JB Seymour Duncan pickup, which is a great pickup. Totally will achieve that Van Halen style sound, and it's going to match that neck pickup. We have chrome hardware that's going to go back on it, and of course I added a spot here for a kill switch. These three controls are awfully close together. These two are the originals. It's a volume and a selector switch. But I was thinking, you know, the volume, you can still hit it with your pinky if you want, or you can come down here. And the kill switch is not going to get in the way of the volume at all because they're pretty low profile. Same thing with the selector switch. You're still going to be able to hit your selector, your volume real easily. But when you go to use your kill switch, usually you use your index finger. So you're going to clear the knobs anyway. So I think this is going to be totally fine. The reason we had to go with such a close configuration is because this cavity down here is very small. So it could have gone here or it could have gone up here, which when you look at the front of the guitar, it would have been up here. And when you go to hit the kill switch, that wouldn't be too bad, but depending how your hand is, you might run into the volume. This way you're going to be able to come all the way over here, your hand is going to be free of obstacles, and I think that's going to work out. I've never done one like this before, but I think that'll look pretty good. Now this is the headstock, and I already sprayed it. It's got plenty of room right there in the diamond shape in the middle of the headstock for the OLP logo. I think this looks killer. It was an experiment. I had to see what it looked like before I committed to the whole guitar. So already I've got the binding taped off. Now I'm going to add some stripes to it. And then whatever quilted maple is exposed after striping it, I'm going to do it pretty similar to a bumblebee stripe pattern. But it's a slightly different body shape, so it will be a little bit different. But after doing that, I'm going to sand down whatever exposed quilted maple is still there so that the flat black that goes on here is going to have something to adhere to. If you try to paint red on here, I mean, it'll stick on there for now, but you can come by with your nail and it'll probably just scratch right off. It's not going to be durable. So you need to have either fresh paint that you paint over or a scuffed surface, because fresh paint will create what they call a chemical bond between the two paints. They're going to bond together. That's why you can paint multiple coats in a row while the paint is still drying, and you don't have to sand. But when you have a dry surface that's not painted on yet and it's scuffed, then the paint can stick to a scuffed surface. So that is called a mechanical bond. So you need one of the two types of bonds to get your paint to adhere well. Alright, I don't know if you could tell here, but now all the gaps here are sanded. So the guitar is taped. I came back and sanded in between all those spots and the sides and the back. So all this is going to be getting matte black, and then everywhere where the tape is going to be quilted maple coming up through in stripe form. Now we'll head back out to the spray booth, get this thing in there, and start putting some matte black on it. Before I paint, I always wipe the guitar down with rubbing alcohol. Then I use the air compressor to make sure it's fully dry. And then I take a tack rag and I wipe a tack cloth. And then I take a tack cloth and wipe the guitar down with that to remove any leftover lint or dust or debris or anything that might be on the guitar. Sometimes after that, I'll even take the air compressor one more time and blow anything that might be left over on it. It's also always a good idea to bring the guitar into the paint booth and let it sit there for a half an hour or so to let it acclimate to the temperature of the paint booth, because my shop is a different temperature than the booth itself. Paint generally sprays on a little better if it's a little warmer rather than cold, so it's always a good idea to let my paint warm up a little bit, let the guitar acclimate to the temperature of the booth, and make sure everything kind of matches or is pretty close in temperature. I did 3 coats of matte black. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching another section of the MM1 rebuild here on the Patreon channel. I appreciate you guys so much. Come back next week. I'm going to have part 3 to this guitar, and it's almost done. It's getting there. It's an awesome guitar to start with, and it's going to be even more awesome once it's completely done. So like I said earlier, if you want to buy this thing, hit me up on my email, mark@guitarguts.com. It can be yours. I'm going to be offering it for less than $1,000 shipped because I got it as a donation in, and I want to give it back out to the world, you know, without charging an arm and a leg. I know we're pretty much in a recession at this point, and guitars have been selling a lot slower for me. I'll tell you guys that. I know that the high price stuff that I've been doing, like the fully decked out, top of the line parts, not everybody can afford a $1,300 or $1,400 custom guitar right now. So I'm gonna kind of move my focus back to building guitars for under $1,000 that have quality components and killer paint jobs. But if you guys are interested in something that's completely fully decked out, I mean, by request, I'll do anything. So if people come to me and they request the highest end parts, I'll put them on there, but obviously you're going to have to pay for them. But I got a couple other really cool guitars coming after this one. I just finished up a Jackson King V in navy blue with white crackle over it, EMG pickups, matched headstock. It's an awesome guitar. It's another one that I'm going to have here exclusively for the Patreon audience to start, and then eventually it'll go over to the main channel too, over on YouTube. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. You guys are the best. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you very soon. Rock on, my friends.